Okay, welcome back, everybody. So now we're gonna start chatting a little bit about Bridgerton. So we were able to do a live react for episode 1 and 2. So just like a little bit of a recap there, we pretty much are introduced to the brand new Colin that comes back from his worldwide travels. And then Penelope is now ready to start getting married. So she starts putting a little bit more effort into trying to find a husband, which was something that she was not initially wanting to do. She's not very successful. She's more of a wallflower herself. She has no game, which I thought that was amazing and hilarious and relatable. And Colin tells her, like, you know what? I'm going to help you. I'm going to try to see what we can do to kind of make sure that you find a husband. So that's where like our shenanigans began. At the end of episode 2, we can kind of see that it hasn't been as successful as Penelope would want it. So she asks Colin to give her a kiss because she doesn't want to die a kiss virgin. So and then we start into episode 3 and 4.
Poor Penelope, the best laid plans. All she wanted to do was put on a ruse that someone would be interested in her, and Eloise spills the beans to Cressida, and it all goes awry.
Yeah.
Everyone finds out. She's back to square one.
Yeah, and then it does seem like Cressida wasn't the one that spilled it. It was like somebody
I
around
said that,
her.
and I during our live react, and man, did I hear about how wrong I was on that. So
we got corrected very quickly. And also, thank you everybody for watching that video. Those videos did pretty well, so that's kind of exciting to see. It was like a new format for us.
It was a new format. Yeah, it was fun.
So I'm excited that we were able to do
that.
But
I'm sad we didn't do episode 3 and 4 because we're gonna have so much to talk about right now because so much happened.
A lot happened. Yeah. So the way that we start out episode 3 is that Penelope and Colin start having like a conversation. Like Penelope's like, you know what? I don't think I need your help anymore. Like I think let's just kind of step away. Like Lady Whistledown. Oh my gosh, I was gonna say Lady Featherington. I don't know why. But Lady Whistledown wrote about them because obviously it would have been suspicious if she wouldn't have wrote about Colin helping her. And also that was like a little bit of a slip. I don't know if you caught that, where Penelope told that to Colin. It would have been suspicious if Lady Whistledown would have wrote about that. When they were under the tree. So she kind of slipped up. I don't know if Colin made a note of it or not. I'm actually gonna have to go and like rewind it and see if he thought that was weird.
Strange. Yeah. I don't think he doesn't strike me as someone who like
catches
much. So I think I love Colin. I'm thinking so hard on him, but no, I don't think he. Oh, but we also skipped over like the very first part of the episode is him dreaming about kissing Penelope again, and you think like, oh, it's about to get raunchy, and then he wakes up in a cold sweat. So she left him quite hot and bothered.
She did. Here for it. I also love the interactions of Colin like waking up and walking down to like have tea with the family, and everything was just getting him all like rough and like bothered. Like any type of comment that Benedict or like Hyacinth would make.
Hyacinth says like, it was so nice of you to do that for Penelope. You must really be a good friend. He's like, what? I'm not what do you mean? He's so on edge. I loved it.
And Benedict's like, did you sleep well, brother? And like he was like,
what do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Perfect. Yeah, what do you mean? I put my head down. I don't know what happened.
Jennifer Lawrence style. He was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Yeah, so good.
It's great. It was so perfect.
But yeah, you're right. Then they go to what is it, like a fair, I guess, or
yeah, they do go to a fair.
That's where they have the conversation you were talking about. Yeah.
And then that's kind of when we start like fully getting introduced to Lord Debling too, who has like a little bit of a potential interest on Penelope. And this may be an unpopular opinion, but I kind of like Lord Debling.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I wrote down something that he says to her that I was like, we haven't gotten here yet in the episode, but I'm going to skip ahead because I feel like it sets a tone. But he says, I don't wish to court someone exactly like myself. I want to be with somebody who knows who they are and embraces their own peculiarity as I do. And I was like, oh no, he's like really showing a stronger game than Colin. Like they better flip this around quick because he's lovable.
He is great, matured. He knows what he wants. Yeah. He doesn't want to play any games, which I loved. And like I think he like fully respects her. Like, yeah, it might not be a love match, but like he seems like he will be like, he'll do everything to make her feel comfortable, lead a good life the way that she wants, and she'll never need anything.
And he like just happens to like to be outdoors, and they really sell that as a terrible negative in the show.
Yeah, and I wrote that apparently, he's obsessed with nature and he's a vegetarian for that time,
Very cool.
Which I thought that was really cool. They call him a naturalist or something. And he talks about it because his whole whole passion is to try to save like these birds up in Iceland or something. I forget what the name of the birds were, which they actually went extinct, guys. I'm so sorry to break the news to you.
Doubling wasn't doing the work he should have been.
Yeah, but like he's like really passionate about nature. So I don't know. I really love that. Like it was such a different arch for like a male interest.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I'm kind of rooting for like on episode 3. I'm like, yeah, Penelope, go with that guy.
But in our theme today, right? Sometimes you don't go for the person who makes sense on paper, and I think that's what we're seeing in this episode. Is Penelope is resigned to pursuing Lord Doubling because he's nice, but you can see that she doesn't love him.
Yeah, it's not a love match.
There's no chemistry.
Yeah,
but he's still hard not to root for.
Yeah, honestly, he seemed great. He got me. I'm a vegetarian. I'm like, ooh, yes. Tell me more. But yeah, he was great. What else happens on this episode? I think we also kind of start getting like a little bit of a competition between Cressida and Penelope for Lord Devling too. Cressida, she's also. We start learning a little bit more about her background story, and she doesn't have it very nice at her house. Like her dad and her mom have put a lot of pressure on her that she also has to marry. So I think we start kind of seeing a little bit more of a character development on Cressida, where they're kind of trying to make her a little bit more redeemable compared to what we went through with her in season 1 and season 2. So we start seeing a little bit of a competition where she starts also kind of aiming at Lord Devling, and Penelope has also kind of set his eyes on him. What do you think about that?
I hate Cressida. I know I'm supposed to like turn around on her, but I'm like, yeah, you deserve everything you got. I'm sorry. But I mean, the sort of crux of their competition happens at the point of the hot air balloon / fair festival, which we have to talk about because it's so funny.
The hot air balloon, man. That was the most ridiculous slow motion plot I have ever seen in TV.
So if you haven't seen the episode, like one of the things that happens at this fair is that they are going to see a hot air balloon. And the hot air balloon, like everyone's standing around it. Doubling is chatting with Penelope in truly the most awkward conversation I've ever seen, where she and Cressida are kind of trying to like appeal to his interests, and Penelope at one point says she loves grass to try and woo him. It's a really funny. So I like the plot for that reason. Like it introduced a lot of humor, I think.
Yeah, I think like I mentioned earlier, like Penelope has no game and is the most amazing and relatable thing I have ever seen.
It's so funny. She has the opposite of Allie Hazelwood's characters, which like she can appeal to no one if she's not about it. But I love that about her. She's just like, no, I'm myself and I can't talk about things I don't care about. But anyway, so yeah, they're like looking at this hot air balloon and it starts to come untied, and you see Colin notices it first and tries to hold the ropes to keep it in place.
A very pirate moment, by the way. He was full on a ship, he looked like.
He was like, finally, these ugly leather boots and this weird long jacket are coming into play.
With the flowy shirt.
Oh my God. It was a lot. God. So he's doing it to protect Penelope, but she can't really see that. And Lord Doubling comes in to save her from a balloon that is moving at a truly glacial pace in her direction. I don't know what they thought was going to happen when it hit her. It like might have knocked her over, I guess, or I don't know.
What would have happened? Like, I mean, I guess the plastic might be a little heavy, but like she would just be under and then they can just deflate it and get her
I don't know. But this was a dramatic.
It was a very dramatic thing. You're right.
It was, but I've never seen a balloon move slower. I've never seen anything move slower. And Penelope just is like, nah, I could move 5 or 6 inches in either direction. I'm choosing not to. I'm just going to stare at it.
I choose that.
I choose.
That's what she was thinking. She did nothing.
She's like, you know what? I'm unmarried. What's the point?
Oh my God. But it's okay, Lord. I'm like,
we're losing it over here.
Oh my God, but Lord just went and laid on top of her. So I'm like, why would I have that?
Yeah, he just sort of like schmooshes her out of the way, I guess.
Oh my God.
It's really funny.
It was great. I am crying because it was
look, it was silly and it was good for the episode, but truly not very high stakes saving right there. And then Cressida pretends to be injured to take the attention away from Penelope.
Yeah. Which, good for Cressida. I know we don't like her, but she's trying to do what she can to try to get a husband. And I guess a damsel in distress always does the trick.
That's another romantic trope. Well, we're already getting into these. Damsel in distress. Men love that.
Yeah, why? They want to feel the protector or something?
Yeah, I know we were just talking about Lord Debling, but he kowtows to that immediately. He was he loved saving her, and I found that a little gross. So maybe that's our first sign that it's not meant to be.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Also pretty interesting because all of the lords, after calling, were like, "Help me!" trying to pull the balloon. Like they were like, I guess we're gonna have to go do manual work because I don't think these guys have ever worked a day in their life. So probably that's why they were not able to control the balloon because they were weak.
They're like, our soft hands can't grip this rope to keep it in place.
Oh God,
so funny.
It was great. It was great, guys.
And then we have a ball that night hosted by Lord Hawkins. Yeah, it's what to say about the ball? What to say about the ball?
So I think Colin and Penelope kind of meet at the ball again, and Colin was about because I think he's kind of started feeling and Violet and Violet. No, I think that was in episode 4, so I'm getting confused. But anyway, Colin kind of started realizing that he might be feeling something.
He pays a lot of attention to Penelope at the ball and her interactions with Lord Debling.
Exactly. So he's kind of starting to kind of get those conflicted feelings, and I think he was at the verge of asking Penelope do you feel something special? I think he was about to ask her, and then Lord Debling came and asked Penelope to dance, and then they start dancing together, and they love this. They start dancing into "Happier Than Ever" by Billie Eilish, which I thought that was such a great
I didn't even
song
clock
for
that.
Yeah, so you can kind of see that Penelope and Lord Debling are dancing, and then Colin is just watching them from afar. Well, they're dancing to "Happier Than Ever," which I thought it was spot on.
Yeah, that's not a great sign for things to come. I mean, I think it's at that ball that they have a conversation, right, where he says, I'd be traveling a lot, you'd have a lot of independence. I'm hoping to find a wife I like, basically.
Yeah, Lord Debling asked her that. I don't know. I'm really... on episode 3, I think things started kind of picking up a little bit more. I feel like episode 1 and 2 were a little bit slower paced. And then episode 3 and 4 is just kicked it to the next gear. It was just crazy.
Okay, there's one part of this ball that I forgot to mention that is the thing that I'm most excited about one thing about episode 3 is we're introduced to a lot of characters in the episode. So we're introduced to Lady Danbury's brother.
Yes.
We're introduced to...
God, good catch, yes.
And they sort of intimate that Violet and Lady Danbury's brother might hit it off, and seeing their interest, seeing Violet, who had such a strong love match and who's been living for the lives of her children, have potentially this opportunity for a second chance at love. I don't know.
Her gardening to bloom, I think, is the expression they use in Charlotte.
I'm really hoping... I don't know for sure, right? Nothing happens yet, but I'm hoping that they take it there because I really loved watching that relationship.
Yeah, I really hope so. And I think it goes back to our conversation earlier that we want to get love stories from all kinds, right? And kind of seeing one of the moms getting it on a little bit. Yeah, go Violet. She's still a beautiful woman and she needs to have a little bit of fun.
Because what's going to happen? All her kids are going to be married off and then she just dies by herself. I don't get the impression that she's like Lady Danbury and that she really wants to be...
independence.
Super independent. Yeah, it's interesting. I think she likes having the hustle and bustle around her. So
yeah, she thrives in it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm hoping they take it that direction.
Yeah, I really like that. That was a really good call out on that. And I'm rooting for them. I think we also start meeting... we also see John Sterling together too with Francesca.
We don't have his name yet. You know it from the books, but I don't think they introduce his name.
He does when he goes in to have the tea and the coffee. That's when
you're right. Okay.
So the first meet with Francesca and John is just outside. They don't talk to each other. They're just sitting out there enjoying their silence together. And they don't really say anything. They just sit out there, not sit. They're just standing out there looking at the sky during the ball. And then that was it. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Because she just has the conversation with Lord Samadani, and he's saying they both come from big families. And he's like, I love being from a big family. I want to have 8 children of my own. And you can see Francesca is just the sort of daughter who's like, I want peace. I've grown up in craziness. She's the opposite of Violet. She wants quiet. So, yeah, it's a nice parallel to see.
Yeah. Francesca's like very, very different compared to all of her siblings. She's always, and that's kind of one of the reasons why they always ask her like why she's always away, going to bath, going to piano lessons, because she just does not want to deal with the madness
Yeah.
of the house. So we were introduced to this brand new character. He actually goes and does I forget what it's called when they have to go to the visiting hours at home.
Oh yeah.
But
He calls upon her.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't know.
he calls her. He calls on her, and then we were introducing him. But they never did like an official introduction, so it was kind of weird because it's like scandalous that he's just coming to see her, and like they never officially introduced. But he does. His name is John Sterling, and then they just go and sit on the couch together in silence. And I think he even says that perhaps we can enjoy the silence together, and then they just sit there enjoying each other
I love
company.
it. You're seeing a lot of the siblings pair up in a very short period of time.
Yes, very quickly.
Which I gotta be honest, I like find that a little. It's too much at one time for me.
Yeah, episode 3, and I think that's kind of why I said like episode 1 and 2 were very slow, and then we just packed so much onto one episode.
It feels frantic, and I don't know where the season is going. I guess we can move into episode 4, which sort of brings us to the end of the first section of season 3. So
Yeah, so this is now kind of ending like on our first part of season 3, Bridgerton. And then it's kind of when we start kind of getting a few more, like a little bit more information where like we now know that Lord Devling, like he asked Penelope, they go to this most gorgeous library I have ever seen. I don't know if you paid attention to that. I have to put a picture of it because it was just so beautiful. But then he asked her like, would you be okay? Like, if we were to ask you to marry you, would you say yes? But you have to be okay that I'm going to be gone for like long periods of time, like 2 or 3 years at a time. I'm going to be gone doing these excursions to save the birds or whatever. But I mean, you're going to have your independence. And that's why I want somebody that is very independent, that can be okay with that. I mean, if I were to ask you to marry you, would that be okay? Or something. I think it was something along those lines, right? So I thought that was really honest and upfront. He's doing a mature thing of just letting her know, like, these are my expectations. Would you agree to it? And Penelope kind of hesitantly says yes. But, like, I don't really think she kind of thinks through that.
She doesn't give her agreement. And I think it's because he has to ask permission still from her family. So he intimates that he's going to ask permission for her hand in marriage. And you do get the impression, or at least I got the impression, that she would say yes.
Yes.
So, and that's where we leave episode 3 and enter into episode 4, where she's strongly considering accepting, because she gets a sense that he's like a good man. He understands what her interests are because he obviously proposed to her in a library and she loves books.
I know, that was so nice.
And Colin is freaking the fuck out. I think she obviously tells him that she's considering the marriage, and he is feeling the urgency to figure out what he wants. And Violet says that at one point. I can't remember if it was in episode 3 or episode 4.
I think it's in episode 4 before they go to find that other bowl, I think. Yeah.
That she's like, you got to figure it out. You can't wait forever. Like, if you want, you have to take a chance if you want this love. And I don't know for sure if she knows that he's feeling something for Penelope, but I get the sense that she kind of does.
Yeah, I think she did. And I think there were a couple of things on like Instagram and TikTok where people were catching that when Colin was talking to Penelope in episode 3 of the bowl, like Violet was in the frame, kept staring at them, like moving back. So like she's like, and I think that was on purpose just to make sure that like kind of let the viewers know that Violet was onto, like, he knew like Colin was having like something or going through something with Penelope.
Yeah.
So that was kind of nice. I think it was very intentional for her to kind of, she knows, but she can't really tell Colin like, I know about you and Penelope. She's just kind of trying to do her mom, but you know, her Violet mom thing where she just kind of guides them into their right idea. Because you can't tell your kids what to do because then they'll do the opposite. So she has to be very careful about like guiding him into the right decision.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
So I love that. Then we also kind of start seeing another awkward encounter between Francesca and John Sterling in the street, where do you remember this piece? Where she like, Francesca and her mom are walking in like the little market street, and then she sees John Sterling out, and she just goes in front of him like, "Hi, how are you?" Like super awkwardly trying to talk to him, and he's just like taken aback because, you know, she was so, I don't want to say crass, but like very like
forward.
Yeah, like very forward about it. And like he even, like she was trying to make conversation, but it didn't go very well. And he tells her at some point like, well, you stopped me to talk to me, so I don't know. Like I don't know, like he wasn't trying to be mean or anything. He just kind of came across as very like, you want to talk to me, so like, what's up, pretty much, kind of. See, that's kind of the vibe that I got, and she was just like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was just saying hello, and that's it.
Yeah, I think she like feels a connection with him and like really tries to go after it. And he's still, I don't know, I get the sense that he's a bit socially awkward. And so he really shows it in that moment.
Yeah, they
But
both are. I
yeah.
think that was the great thing. So I love to see people pairing up with the person that they want to be.
Okay, so in the vein of pairing up with the people that you want to be, I can't even remember when this happens in episode 3 or episode 4, but I want to talk about it before we wrap up before we get in the really the steamy stuff of episode 4 and then move on. But there's a scene in, I think it's episode 3, where Cressida is supposed to be receiving her suitors, and Eloise shows up, and they have a conversation, and they're talking back and forth, and then the Cressida's family sort of like pushes Eloise out of the way. For me, just like doing a quick read of that, I am rooting for Eloise and Cressida to get together. And I know that's a difference from the books, but I read that as like Eloise is a suitor of Cressida's.
Oh, that's a good call. And there's a lot of like things going around online about that, where like people are rooting for Eloise and Cressida to be together. But that's such a good call out that maybe that's like a symbolism of like she's actually calling on her.
And we don't have that many queer characters in the show. And I know that Eloise has a different suitor planned in the books, but I, in that moment, was like, is this going to be the redemption arc? Is this where Cressida, a woman who in the history of the show is so anti other women, I think it would be like a beautiful turnaround to be like, not only is she for women, but she also loves a woman who is her first female friend and maybe something more. I don't know. That's my like, I would really love to see the show go in that direction.
That would be really beautiful, honestly. And that's such a good point about it. Like, it didn't even register on me that that's like she was like calling like at the calling hours and all of those things. So that totally makes sense. So
Anyway, that's my.
I love that. That's a really good idea. I like that. I mean, and I'm not a big fan of like Eloise's like book story. I don't think it was very interesting. So I think whatever kind of changes they decide to make to it, like hopefully it's gonna be better than the book. Because that was one of my most. It was a very boring book in general. There's a couple of really funny scenes in it, but nothing that interesting.
Turn it around. So, come on, Shonda.
Turn it around. Yeah. And like that's kind of also where we find out that her dad, Cressida's dad, is like, you are never to be seen hanging out with Eloise Bridgerton. You hear me? Like I think that's when but like we don't really get a lot of context as to why. So it could fall into your
forbidden
plot.
love in every way. It's a beautiful trope. Let's go for it.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea.
Should we skip to the most important scene of
the last 5 minutes? Ooh, a lot happened in there.
My stomach is growling. Sorry, guys. I'm hungry to talk about this, apparently.
Well, it's early morning for us, too, so we get really excited about it. But so during the ball, Penelope and Lord Devling are dancing together, blah, blah, blah. And then Colin decides to go to the ball, and like he very rudely interrupts them, and like he makes, starts dancing with Penelope. Like he was like, hey, Lord Darling, I'm sorry, I know this is not customary, but like I just need to jump in and have the rest of the dance. So they start dancing, and like Penelope and Colin like kind of start arguing because Colin is like, you can't marry him. Like, why are you gonna marry him? It's like, well, he's offering me all of these things, and that was the goal, like for me to get married. So I'm gonna do it. So they kind of start arguing a little bit, and they just kind of like finish dancing, and they just like part ways very angrily at each other. So I think that's like the initial setup for them to kind of start building this super mega tension between the two.
Yeah, I don't even remember how they get into the carriage together, but that's where
Penelope gets really annoyed. Well, not that. Lord Devling sees the interaction between Colin and Penelope, and Lord Devling tells her like, there's obviously something going on, and I can see the way that like he looks at you, and then the way that, remember the story where like you always looking out at your house from your living room. So, and I don't want to deal with that. Like that's too much pressure, and like not too much pressure, but like it's too much like baggage for him to be dealing with it. And I totally get it, because from Lord Devlin's standpoint, like he's gonna be gone for 2 or 3 years. He cannot have a woman that could potentially be in love with somebody else and potentially kind of carry a little bit of skepticism if they do have kids together, that they might not be like his legitimate kids. So I kind of get it from his standpoint. Like, I don't want to deal with this drama. It could lead to like infidelity down the line, whatever. So I'm not gonna do this anymore. Penelope gets super upset and then she runs away from the bowl towards the carriage. And I think Colin sees that, and then that's when he starts chasing after her and he gets into the carriage.
My mind is a sieve because I did watch this episode and I didn't remember any of that. I was like, they just end up in the carriage. I don't know. It's like I have like dream memories of it where she's like Devlin breaks it off and then they're in the carriage. I don't know. I appreciate the recap because I did not remember that.
But yeah, no, and I think, in Lord Devlin's thing, like I people were like, not people, but like I read something from like, oh, why would he do that? And it's like, I kind of get it from his point. Like, this is not a love match. This is more of like a marriage that will work for both of them. And obviously, Penelope is not there. So he's not going to be wasting his time. Like, if she's not going to be joining this into like the same agreement that they had initially.
Yeah, that's great about Lord Devling. Anyway, let's move on.
Let's move on from those.
Obviously, I don't remember because like in my brain, I'm just like, I don't really care. Like he had a good setup, but like their breakup is just like a plot device to get them into that carriage, and that's all I cared about in that episode. The only thing I remember from the episode.
Yeah, to the moment. Kidding. So Penelope gets into the carriage and she starts going, and then like he just starts like
Colin starts running.
Yeah, you just hear Colin's little running footsteps in the back, like, Penelope, stop the carriage. So they stop the carriage and he gets in.
And Colin goes feral.
He does. And I think your memory on this is going to be better than mine. Do you want to walk us through what happens next?
No, I don't. My memory is not good. Again, Magda, I feel like...
I thought at least you remember the carriage part.
I remember it, but only in that I remember deeply all of the interactions that Francesca has had. I remember Violet's interactions, everything with Penelope and Colin. My mind is like 404, like not found. I was slack-jawed and so into it that I could not give you one single detail. I know that man was open-mouthed.
He was.
The entire time. Every time Penelope says anything to him, he looks like he's about to drool out of the side of his mouth because he's ravenous to
get her, take her. I don't know what the right word is.
Look, all of his memories. So yes, if we want to do a play-by-play, I am so sorry. I'm a terrible co-host today. I like literally want to tell you, I was just like, nothing is going in right now except for...
You just took the moment in. I love it. You were there enjoying it.
Reaction. I have visualizations of him being like, Penelope's touching my hair, and I have a weird, like literally he was open mouthed, just staring, gaping at her, and then he just sort of like lurches across the carriage.
Yeah. So I think he kind of starts getting into, like, he chases after her. He's like, something along the lines, I can't remember verbatim what he said, but like he was like, I have all these feelings for you. Like, I really want us to, like, I don't know if he wants to say like we want to try, but just kind of like I have all these really strong feelings for you, Penelope. And like Penelope says something along the lines like, yeah, Colin, but we are friends. And then like she stops and you can kind of see the devastation in Colin's eyes at that moment, because that's where he thought she was going to end the sentence. And then she goes like, but I would like this to be so much more than that. And then they just start kissing like crazy.
I'm so impressed that you remember the dialogue because...
Yeah. I just remember that because I thought that was like a really beautifully done, the way that like they kind of explain, like he kind of is pouring his heart out to her and she's just like, sorry, Colin, like we're just friends. Like not like that, but like... Probably from his perspective, that's probably how he got it. Like, we're just friends, dude.
Well, and I think for her, it's like so beyond her that she would even consider that he would be interested in her. Yeah, she just doesn't even go there in her mind.
Mm-hmm. And like, when she was just like, you know what? And then like she pauses. We can see the devastation in Colin's side, which, you know what? Good. Make him suffer a little bit, even if it's only for 5 seconds. And then he's like, but I want it to be so much more. And then... Give Me Everything Tonight by Pitbull starts playing in strings, which I thought that was like the weirdest song selection.
It works so well.
It works.
It really works well, yes.
It's such a good job. Give Me Everything Tonight, such a catchy song.
He does.
He does.
She does. And well, no, she doesn't, actually. That's not even fair. He gives her her first experience with an orgasm.
Yeah.
And... it's interesting because I don't, like, in the last moment, I think this is the build-up. This is what I remember which is very little apparently. And I'm so sorry that this burden has been put on you.
It was great.
But you do get the sense, like, once the scene sort of starts to wrap up, that she's sort of accepted, like, sort of with the kiss too, like, I have made a decision that, like, I'm going to be a fallen woman. I'm going to do it because I have so much love for Colin that, like, damn the repercussions. I'm going to just know that at this point forward, I'm going to be unmarriageable. It's such a beautiful setup because then the last line
I know. He gets on, they arrive, the guy from the carriage tells him, like, we're at Bridgerton house.
Which sort of is, like, what forces them to stop, basically.
Yeah. So they're done. He gets down and he was going to, what does he say exactly?
He says, are you going to come with me and become my wife? Right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he does say that. Like, yeah, he's like, are you going to become my wife? Yes or no, Penelope?
And he means, like, are you going to get out of this carriage and become my wife? Yeah. Like, that's how they set it up. Is like, because she stays. She doesn't go to get out. She thinks, like, this is it. Like, I read that moment as, like, she's like, cool, that was, like, fun for me. And, like, he's just going to go off and do his rakish things and that's it. And then he gets out of the carriage and you see that she's like, okay, like, he's just going to leave me. And then he says, like, Penelope Feathering, are you going to get out of this carriage and come in and become my wife? And it's, like, such a beautiful, like, ooh, yes.
And that's how it ends. And it was a really good ending to part one. I'm loved
so
it.
Sorry. I did terrible, like, great recap, Lindsay, but remember.
It was just such a great, I think episode 3 and episode 4 were so strong overall. I think episode 1 and 2, it's a lot more set up and everything. So it could be a little bit slow pace. Episode 3 and 4, they just took off running with everything, not just with Penelope and Colin, but with all of the other characters as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I'm assuming this part 2 will be a lot of their wedding preparations. I'm hoping that we'll get more Francesca and her relationship. The thing that I don't like is, like, I think it was too much, honestly, for me. The pacing was weird to me because, like you said, episodes 1 and 2 were very slow. Episode 3 and 4, I was like, oh my God, everyone's in a relationship. We didn't even talk about Lady Tilly Arnold, who Benedict is going after, which is a stupid plot line. I could not care less.
Yeah, I don't get that.
But, like, I'm hoping part 2, like, you don't get to revel as much in the buildup of the relationships, I think, as you have in seasons 1 and 2. Like, you get an entire season of just one couple, and here you're, like, dodging couples left and right. So
yeah, everybody's pairing up. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I would imagine that we're also going to be learning and dealing with a little bit of, like, Colin potentially finding out that she's Lady Whistledown as well. So that's going to be kind of interesting. It's 4 episodes. That's a lot of things. So I'm kind of curious how they're going to be managing those episodes
to come. Yeah.
But yeah.
And then Eloise and Cressida is wedding.
Who knows? But yeah, that was our Bridgerton recap. I think so far, we're both enjoying it quite a bit, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be kind of exciting to see what part 2 is going to bring us. And we'll do another, like, quick episode where we'll just kind of break that down and kind of get our thoughts.